While the Spartans are a true force of nature in themselves, they undergo a bunch of cybernetic and genetic enhancements to become truly invulnerable. Among other things, the Spartans' initial training ends with them getting access to the Mjolnir armor, a technological marvel equipped with all sorts of weapons and gadgets that add to the user's capabilities. So without further ado, let us dive right into the inner functions of the Spartan armor and look at everything that makes the Mjolnir such an excellent addition to the Spartan armory. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
We all will.
Origin, evolution, and variants. The Mjolnir armor was the brainchild of Dr. Catherine Halsey, who wanted to create a powerful exoskeleton that would aid and enhance the physical function of a Spartan. The project was in development for about 30 years, and the UNSC Navy had developed a few prototypes, such as Mark I, III, and Hunting Mark I, before Dr. Catherine stepped into the picture in 2510. She was of the view that the Hunting project was a failure due to its lack of creativity, and she further felt like the armor could incorporate more advanced technology. She then decided to scrap all the progress they'd made so far and start over instead of stepping up to take the lead in the Hunting project. Dr. Catherine soon came up with the Project Mjolnir in 2511, and even collaborated with Vice Admiral Hieronymus to make sure that the Mjolnir armor was implemented in the Spartan II program. She devised ideas to perfect the armor, to enhance the wearer's strength, and even conceptualized the neural link technology in her journals over the next 4 years. In 2515, the project finally entered its development state, and the first few variants of the Mjolnir came into existence. These early variants were as follows. Early marks, Mark I, II, and III. The early variants of the Mjolnir were essentially prototypes for Dr. Halsey to experiment with, and the Mark I was especially a heavy suit that was a bit difficult to control. While it was made using cutting-edge technology, the Mark I needed a lot of energy to function, and Mark II was soon created to replace this prototype. Mark II can best be described as a refined Mark I, and Mark III soon followed in the same footsteps. Sadly, all these prototype exoskeletons needed a powerful energy source, and further work was required to make them suitable for wear. Mjolnir Mark IV. After years of research, the Mjolnir Mark IV was the first Mjolnir armor to be actively used on the battlefield, and it was used throughout the Human Covenant War. This suit was truly revolutionary, but it sadly had its own limitations. Among other things, it had a high production cost and a complex manufacturing process, as every suit had to be tailor-made for the Spartans who wore it. Mark V. After the Mark IV's success, further upgrades were made to the armor, and the Mark V had some truly fascinating technologies, such as shielding energy and an integrated AI system. Black. Researchers in a secret lab in Korea tried to create a prototype Mark VI that was only meant for Team Black. This variant had several enhancements that made it useful for one of the Covenant invasions and Operation Blowback. Mark VI. Soon enough, Mark VI was released with a bunch of technological upgrades, such as faster recharge time and improved synchronization between the suit and the user, among other things. This was the third primary variant of the armor, and it was soon followed by Mark VII. Mark VII. This armor was introduced around January 2533 and was notably lighter than its past iterations. It had a nanotechnology repair suite within the armor, but the Mark VII was quite an expensive variant that could not have been feasibly produced on a large scale. While it was a wonderful creation, it had to be sadly replaced by second-generation Mjolnir armors that were more cost-effective. Gen 2. Second generation. Widely used by the Spartan 4s, the Gen 2 model of the Mjolnir was known for streamlining the armor's architecture, which made it easier to use. While earlier designs were a bit more complex, the Gen 2 model simplified most of its tasks, but sadly, the suit's efficiency was sacrificed in the process. Gen 3. Third generation. Finally, Gen 3 Mjolnir armor incorporated the best bits of the Gen 1 and Gen 2 designs and received a number of upgrades. These included an enhanced energy shield, an efficient fusion reactor, and better hydrostatic gel dispersal membranes, which all contributed to the superiority of the Gen 3 armor over any other variant. By 2559, this variant became the standard for any Spartan, and the most widely used Mjolnir. What are the physical requirements for a human to use the Mjolnir armor without injury? To begin with, it would not be wise for a human to wear the Mjolnir armor solely based on its massive weight. The Mjolnir helmet itself weighs more than 30 pounds, which would crush a human being in a second. Even military helmets don't weigh more than 4 to 5 pounds, and the Mjolnir armor was explicitly designed while keeping the Spartan strength in mind. Besides the helmet, the armor system is quite reactive, and one would have to undergo a skeletal augmentation procedure, known as carbide ceramic ossification, to wear it safely. Since the augmentation was a part of the Spartan training program, the Mjolnir armor was deemed safe for them to wear, but a regular human being would not be able to use the armor without injuries. The Mjolnir armor was equipped to enhance the wearer's performance after they had already undergone genetic and physical augmentations. It was made of a multi-layer alloy that had been further enhanced with a refractive coating to deflect energy strikes, and this alloy was further hardened against EMP and radiation to protect the wearer from external attacks. It also had a gel-filled layer underneath this tough exterior to protect the Spartan's body. The suit was also quite reactive, and one of the suit's layers was filled with a liquid crystal metal known as polymerized lithium neobosine that boosted a Spartan's reaction fivefold. It took over 30 years to develop, and one can only imagine the kind of careful planning and dedication that went into making the perfect exoskeleton for a Spartan. Keeping these things in mind, the suit caters to a Spartan's physiological needs that greatly differ from a human's, deeming them unfit to wear the Mjolnir armor. However, they could access the armor's heads-up display if a Spartan agreed to wear the helmet and then link it to the human's HUD. Even then, humans could not access most of the armor's features, and it would be best for them to steer clear of this advanced weaponry. How does the neural interface of the Mjolnir armor interact with the Spartan's nervous system? The Mjolnir is not a traditional armor in any form. It operates on a biomechanical level in perfect sync with the user's body. This ensured that the user had complete control over the armor's functioning, as it was linked to the user's nervous system through a neural interface. Whenever a new Spartan completed their induction, they were implanted with a neural interface in the form of a chip. Later, they donned the Mjolnir skin suit that was linked directly to an environment control computer that connected their neural interface to a bigger, more complex system. Spartans too received an updated version of this neural lace that was made of 2 processor chips that were directly connected to the user's brain receptors. These receptors were then linked to a neural interface at the back of the skull, and all electrochemical signals from the brain were sent to this spot. Typically, our neurons play an integral role in sending electrical impulses through the body, and these impulses or signals make their way to the neural interface, where they're translated into a digital code. This code then traveled through this interface system and reached the Mjolnir suit's onboard sensors. The sensors interpreted these signals and triggered a reaction that deformed the polymerized lithium neobosine from the suit so that it would overlap and form thick, fat polygonal layers. As soon as the impulses stopped, these polygonal pieces reverted to their original form, and the suit received the signal that the user's muscle fibers were twitching and that it was time to put the suit's force multiplying circuits to use. These circuits would intensify the force applied by the user's muscles and enhance their functioning, thereby creating a successful feedback loop. This feedback loop resulted from the neural interface, which served as a medium for the suit and the user's body to come together and maximize their joint potential. Simply put, the user's thoughts caused movements within the suit, which in turn boosted the user's functioning through the force multiplying circuits. All of these processes sound pretty complex, right? However, they barely took a moment, and the synthesis of the suit and the mind was so speedy that it was nearly impossible to record its reaction time. Let's try to understand this neural interface through an example to put things into perspective. What the interface does is that it essentially overrides the functioning of the nervous system and directly links with the Mjolnir armor. So if you were to raise your hand out of nowhere, the first muscle twitch would immediately alert the interface, and in turn, activate the armor. The armor would then amplify the motion through its force multiplying circuits, enhancing the Spartan's functioning and reflexes.
Slide right.
In what way does the armor enhance the physical capabilities of a Spartan? The armor had innumerable features that catered to a Spartan's needs and enhanced their abilities, and a few of them are as follows. A built-in thruster pack for sprinting. The armor was fitted with a thruster pack that enabled the user to thrust into a sprint at any point, or even boost one's sprint speed in dire situations. Typically, Spartans use this ability to dodge their enemies or move mid-air to attack their opponents or defend themselves. Once they reached their top speed, the armor was fitted with joint actuators that allowed them to slide over short distances to dodge enemy attacks. Often, Spartans could use their thrusters to leap from an elevated point and land on their feet in a process known as the ground pound. As the name suggests, the ground pound was so powerful that it could hammer anyone in its path, and it had destroyed vehicles such as the Warthog and Scorpion. However, this process required some time, and the Spartans had to charge the suit's stabilizers before launching such a powerful attack. The mighty Spartan charge to knock opponents out. The armor could enhance the Spartans' attacking abilities with the help of a Spartan charge, a process in which the user could sprint at a high speed before running headlong at their opponent. This attack was powerful enough to damage the opponent's shoulder or even knock them out, and in extreme cases, it could also kill them. Clambering over surfaces with the help of armor systems. The Mjolnir armor boosted the Spartans' agility, and they could travel on any terrain without breaking a sweat. They could hang on ledges, clamber over them, and even make high jumps that were rather impossible otherwise. Smart scope systems that enhanced the Spartans' accuracy. The Smart Scope software could link the suit's heads-up display to the weapon system, which helped improve the user's accuracy and decrease their reaction time in the face of danger. Some weapons, such as the MAFD rifle and the MGH-2 Magnum, were fitted with a holographic zoom, making it easier for the Spartans to operate them. Additionally, the Smart Scope could be activated mid-air if the user found himself in a pickle and needed to hover mid-air for a couple of moments while he figured out his next move or dodged an incoming attack. How does the armor's hydrostatic gel layer protect and support the wearer's body? The armored bodysuit had a gel-filled layer right underneath the exterior coat. The hydrostatic gel in this layer served many purposes, but most importantly, it could regulate the suit's temperature by adjusting the gel density to match the wearer's body type. In this way, the temperature was controlled by releasing or absorbing more moisture through the skin's suit cloth, which was situated right underneath the hydrostatic gel layer. How does the suit's design prevent injury from high impact or high G-force scenarios? Besides controlling the temperature, this gel layer could also be pressurized to protect the wearer from bearing the brunt of any high-velocity attacks or high gravitational forces. This was one of the suit's best features, and it had saved many Spartan lives in the face of calamities. However, one had to ensure that overpressurizing the hydrostatic gel could also lead to nitrogen embolisms, and this feature had to be used sparingly. What are the physiological effects of the armor's force-multiplying circuits on a Spartan? The armor had an inbuilt force-multiplying circuit system, which boosted the Spartans' force and enhanced their abilities. With the help of this system, the Spartans found it much easier to engage in hand-to-hand combat, but it did come with its disadvantages. To begin with, the force-multiplying circuits made it challenging to adjust the armor, and even a tiny bit of movement could have had devastating effects if it was not executed correctly. This was also one of the key reasons why humans were incapable of wearing this armor, as an unaugmented body could easily be damaged due to slight movements that have no considerable impact on a Spartan. While the force-multiplying circuits might enhance a Spartan's power and speed, using such high-force systems could result in broken bones, intense spasms, or even death for humans. How does the armor's biofoam injector system work in treating battlefield injuries? While Mjolnir armor initially did not have biofoam injector systems, the Mark V and VI generations received this upgrade that could keep a Spartan 2 going even after sustaining injuries in battle. This system could detect any injuries on the user's body, and then inject the biofoam gel into any wounds and seal them shut. Besides temporarily healing the wound, the gel could also treat any infections that might have seeped into the injuries. But this was quite a painful process. While the biofoam injector system effectively treated battlefield injuries, the Spartans had to remember that this was only a temporary solution, and that they had to seek proper medical care as soon as the battle had ended. How does the Spartan soldier's brain work with the helmet's heads-up display, HUD, to quickly understand and use the information it shows without getting overwhelmed? The Mjolnir suit had many components, and its helmet was one of the most crucial elements. The helmet was made of titanium and had a HUD, or heads-up display, that could identify anything in front of the wearer. This HUD was also linked to the Spartans' brains and hands, so that every time they picked something up, a neural system told them everything they needed to learn about the object. Additionally, 2 processing chips implanted into the Spartan's skull were also linked to the helmet, which ensured the establishment of a smooth neural link that could move along the entire suit. Among other things, the helmet was fitted with thermal and motion sensors, communication systems, imaging gadgets, and solar-powered lightning. The Mjolnir helmet was quite an advanced piece of technology, and it was fitted with an environmental control unit that could filter out toxins from the environment and supply oxygen to the user through a rebreather. What are the potential risks or downsides of wearing such a technologically advanced and heavy suit? From everything we've explored so far, it's evident that the Mjolnir is an advanced piece of equipment that serves as an additional layer of skin. It goes without saying that such advanced technology has its downsides, and it could not be healthy for a human or a Spartan body to be latched on to such complex technological systems for too long. The suit itself weighs a ton, and while Spartans have received physiological augmentation to enhance their strength, it must be tiring to wear such a heavy suit of armor at all times. The suit also had layers filled with fluids, such as hydrostatic gel and piezoelectric liquid crystals, that could potentially harm the wearer if the suit malfunctioned in any capacity. Among other things, the suit came equipped with a fitted helmet, and Spartans were further implanted with a chip to establish a connection to the neural system. These processes alter human physiology to a point where the suit overrode the human nervous system, which could adversely affect the wearer's physiology. While the Spartans underwent a ton of enhancement procedures to turn into a super soldier, the Mjolnir was a tool far too advanced, and any malfunctions or failures in the suit's inner systems could pose a direct threat to the wearer's life, no matter how powerful they are. Marvelous verdict. To wrap things up, the Mjolnir armor might be associated with some risks, but that doesn't make it any less of a powerful weapon. From a hydrostatic gel that supports the wearer to an inbuilt biofoam injector that can provide medical aid to the user, the Mjolnir is a modern-day marvel. It adds a whole lot of value to an average Spartan's career, and it almost leaves us envious of them for having access to such a cool piece of armor. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.